Welcome to Illo Talk. I am Cory Kerr, and this is episode 170. And I went to a conference the other day, and there's a lot of really interesting things, some of which I will talk about. One of which I want to talk about right now. I'm not sure why this really stuck out to me. Oh, by the way, if I seem very distracted, it's because I am doubling up. And I'm going to play some video games while I talk. So, but anyway, there was this conference and we were talking about different things. For example, how to get students engaged, how to keep people from doing whatever, right? One of the things that I thought was super interesting was there were several sessions that were talking solely about how to keep people from quitting. Like, what is it that makes it so that some people quit and others don't quit on tough projects? And the research, there's a lot of research on that. It's mostly geared towards education, but you can definitely apply it towards, personal projects and things like that. Like, I've often wondered that. Why is it that some people are able to do, these 100-day challenges where others give up or whatever? Like, what is it about some people where they're able to spend, 20 hours a week or 2 hours every evening or whatever it is, doing projects, and other people are like, oh, I don't have time, they give up and they abandon. Well, one thing is that there has to be kind of a difficult challenge, but then the other thing is there has to be a very solid belief that it's possible to achieve that thing. And so if it's not hard, then people will quit. And if it seems so outlandish and so out there that it's just not possible, then people will quit. And then the other thing is being able to relate to people. And so one of the ways that makes it seem possible is watching other people do it. And so if you're like, oh, well, that dude is like me, right? But if you feel like that guy is superhuman, then it doesn't seem likely. But if that guy seems just like you and he's doing it or she's doing it, or whatever, or they have a more difficult situation than you or whatever, then it seems like it's possible. And so there's kind of some of that, and I'll get a lot more into that research because I find that fascinating, but I've got to look at my notes for that. But I did want to talk to you guys about the Rat Park, which sounds like a really weird webcomic, but what it is there was a study done where they said, okay, so let's see whether or not people will choose addiction over not addiction, right? And so they took rats, lab rats, and they gave them some water, and there was some water that was water, and there's some water that was laced with heroin. And they gave them a choice. And the rats chose the heroin water over and over and over again, and 100% of the time, the rats in that situation OD'd on heroin, right? Given that. And then somebody was like, you know what? I don't think we're doing this right. And so what he did is he said, I bet that given other options instead of just water or heroin, because who wouldn't choose heroin in that situation, you would have people, or you'd have rats that would be okay, right? And so what he did is he built a rat park. And this rat park had other rats in it. It had activities for the rats to do. There were things where the rats could like entertain themselves and whatever. It was this really entertaining social park. And so they took the heroin water and they're like, here's water and here's heroin water, and they put them in this rat park, and all of the rats chose water and none of them OD'd. And they're like, okay, well, given distractions, maybe that's great. And so then they took it again and they're like, what if we took rats already addicted to heroin and we put them in this park? Obviously, they're already addicted, and so they're going to choose heroin. But actually, in this situation where they were able to socialize with other rats and they were able to do activities and there was things to do rather than just boredom and loneliness, what happened is even the addicted rats, kicked the addiction. They beat heroin addiction by hanging out with people or hanging out with other rats and doing activities and doing things. And so the idea is that there is this psychological thing that says that people or rats or whomever do significantly better if they are fulfilled and they have activities, there are things to keep them busy, and they have companionship and a sense of community. And so it's kind of an interesting thing, especially in the art world, where we spend a lot of our time kind of not around other human beings, right? We're alone in our studio or, whatever. And the idea of other people and the concept of connection is not enough. Like, actual physical connection is important. And they've done a ton of other studies, none of which I can remember off the top of my head, but where you're not getting the connection that you need to get out of Facebook or out of whatever. It's good, but it's a lesser connection that isn't as powerful. And so anyway, sharing physical space with other people, and doing things, at the very least, according to the Rat Park, will keep you off of heroin. But it actually probably has some more significant benefits. For example, I have found that for the first couple years of being an artist, I was being an artist in a vacuum. I was doing it by myself, and I felt very isolated. And then I started to get involved in some communities and some YouTube stuff and connecting with people. And I was actually quite surprised at how validating and how fulfilling being a member of these communities and a member of these groups of people with like-minded individuals, how much that actually helped me stay productive and whatnot. It was great. It was great, especially if you're dealing with imposter syndrome. Talking to other people who are incredible artists and are doing amazing things, and realizing that they also think their art is crap and think that they can improve and stuff like that. Anyway, just knowing that you're not alone in your crazy is helpful. So, yeah. And here's a picture I drew today during church. And I don't exactly know what this one means, but I was thinking, if there is an all-seeing eye, right? Which I don't think there is, but if there is this Illuminati Mason idea of this eye that sees all and knows all and whatever, I think a lot of the time it would just be shocked or horrified or really sad. If you just saw everything, I just think you'd be like, what is going on right now in the world with all the crap that's happening? And so that's what's happening right now in this image. Is you have the all-seeing eye being just surprised and horrified at how we treat each other. So yeah, once again, another weird and depressing message from me about stuff. But what if the all-seeing eye saw a bunch of Rat Park people and people beating heroin water because of community? Huh? Then it probably wouldn't be crying and shocked. Then it wouldn't. All right. Anyway, you can catch this and many other things on my website. Also, I will be switching over to a new website. I have decided to do Squarespace. I've been doing WordPress for roughly 8 years. And before that, I was into Joomla, which is awful. And I tried Drupal for a little while. I mean, back in the day, the garbage that passed for a content management system was pretty bad. But I tell you what, I have gotten hacked a number of times, and I have gotten brute force attacked, and then you get a virus, and then there's this thing, and you have to deal with all this garbage, and I'm sick of hosting things myself. So I figured what I'm paying for hosting and all that jazz, excuse me, could easily cover kind of the monthly expenses of a Wix or a Squarespace or whatever else is going on out there. And so I looked at a couple of them, and I decided to do Squarespace. It's pretty slick. It's kind of frustrating to build, actually. Like, they advertise as if they're this bastion of ease or whatever, but that was not my experience. But once you kind of got the hang of it, it wasn't too bad. And once I kind of understood like their terminology and what they were trying to say and all of that, it wasn't bad. And it gave me the option of something that I've been trying to do for a while, which is, instead of all this website garbage, I just want a bunch of my art. Like, just show me a bunch of my art. And so my new page, my new website is going to go up in the next couple days, and it is going to have just art, and there'll be like a blog and a video section and all of that, but like the first thing you see is just a giant grid of stuff I've drawn, which is all I've ever really wanted it to do. So I'm kind of excited about that, and I'm going to get out of the game of like trying to sell stuff on my website and deal with SSL certificates and yada yada yada. And I don't think anybody or I don't know. I'm not sure that anyone's terribly interested in buying originals at the prices that I want to sell them or whatever. Anyway, so what I'm doing is what we're going to have is all my store stuff is just going to be print on demand, and so we'll do TeePublic and Designed by Humans and Threadless. Those are kind of the ones where I'm at right now. And yeah, and I'm digging TeePublic. I like TeePublic a lot. But I'm probably going to stay off of the fulfillment yourself, like Etsy and all those. I am building a few more things in Gumroad. Digital downloads that will allow you to teach yourself how to do animation stuff. And you can go to my site, corykerr.com, and click on, or go to /tools, TOOLS. And I have a lot of my digital downloads that you can get there as a kind of pay what you want. So if you don't want to pay, then you're welcome to do that for free, which seems to be everyone so far. But if you want to toss a buck in the jar there, you can do that or whatever. But it's kind of cool. So if you want to learn how to use the puppet tool, the puppet pin tool, I've got like a little worm. And, you know, you can like rig up the worm and stretch them out and whatever. And if you want to learn how to rig things using anchor points and rotation and whatever, I've got a skeleton that you can download. And you can kind of rig him up all fun and cool. And then if you want to learn how to do 2.5D, which is parallax environments of flat things in a 3D environment, I've got a scene there that you can do. And then I have videos on all of those things on how to do that stuff. And so if you're interested in getting a little bit into animation, you can check that out. Those have been up for a while, but I don't think I've really talked about them that much. And so they are free and or pay what you want. And so and I don't care if I make anything off them, so like don't feel bad if you're like, I don't have any money, but I want to learn those things. That's fine. Go learn them. That's awesome. That's why I put them up. So anyway, yeah, so go check that out. And I will announce when my site is up, and it would be great if you guys checked it out and told me if anything is broken or weird or whatever on it, or if something that I thought made sense just doesn't. That'd be wonderful. Anyway, ramble. I'm playing Rocket League, and I drew a picture today. We'll catch you guys later next week. Or maybe sooner, depending, because I do actually really want to talk about staying power or grit and the research that is behind that, because there's clinical studies and research that they've done that talk about how to engender the personality traits that will allow people to finish projects. And I think it's really interesting. And so, but I've got to get my notes out because I can't remember all the things off the top of my head. But there was 2 different things in that conference that talked about that. And so I think you guys might be interested in that. Anyway, done rambling. We'll catch you guys later. You guys are awesome. I'm out.